boys are going to bring the heat today.
As the leader of the Booner pack, I lead from the front.
All right, boys. Lock in.
It's our core foundation, man. Grit.
I'm fired up. I'm fired the f*** up, boys.
It's pumping right now. It's got my juices pumping, boys.
Welcome to Crunch Time Sports with Jeff, Boone, and Lukas. It is Tuesday, July 1st, second day of NBA Free Agency. We're here to cover it. Pistons, they aren't dead in the water yet. All right, they did make a move about a little over an hour ago. We'll talk about that. But fellas, we got Lions today. We got Pistons today. We're going to talk some Red Wings later in the show as well. We got Sean Murphy joining. We got a packed show. Duncan Robinson, we'll get to. Don't worry. He's now a Piston.
Michigan man, Duncan Robinson. A lot of Michigan men on this squad. It should be a fun day, though. We do need to talk some Red Wings today, too. I just actually thought of that. I don't know if we have Red Wings in the prep. Can we talk some Red Wings and how bad the offseason started off for them? I just want to talk that at some point today. I just remembered that, actually.
I got some shit yesterday for crapping on him. You told me, no.
Well, no, you said something negative about Patrick Kane. I think that's the wrong guy to go after.
No, I didn't say anything about Patrick Kane. I just said, the Red Wings offseason to me right now is just not. And you're like, well,
we still have to talk about it. It's because it's not. We have to have an opinion on it. I would like to talk it a little bit. Shout out Darren Waller too. Darren Waller Day.
Retirement. I don't know what the hell the Dolphins are doing, bro.
Hey, good for the man. Darren Waller's not bad, even coming off a year. I bet you he can get you 500 yards. He could do what Jonnu Smith did.
Don't diss Jonnu Smith.
I mean, Jonnu Smith played 10 years in the league, had one good year, and everyone's like, Jonnu
Smith. This is the second. He had 80 catches for 800 yards and 8 touchdowns.
Yeah, exactly. My point. First good year, big year he's had. That's all I said. I didn't say he's been an average tight end until last year when everyone was hurt. He's good, not very good. Very good at Sam Laporta.
Go down the rabbit hole.
Very good at Sam
Darren
Laporta.
Waller coming out of retirement. Thought he was killing the rap game, man. He's back in the league now.
Dude, hey, Darren Waller went down when he was good. Like, he was just like, I'm done. And everyone's like, what are you doing, bro? You have so much money on the table. Millions. Just left it all on the table.
Yeah, that's a whole nother thing. But we also have an update on Malik Beasley, which I do want to get to because Malik Beasley is kind of going through the situation he's going through. It's very tough. Obviously, the uncertainty there with everything going on, the Pistons decided to pivot, and they've now signed Duncan Robinson, which we will get to as more people continue to get in the show. But the Malik Beasley stuff, guys, this report came out today. Massive report. All right. And again, this is something separate from what he's going through with the U.S. District Attorney's Office, the investigation into gambling violations and all that stuff. But this is something completely completely on the side. But it says here, former Detroit Pistons guard Malik Beasley had financial issues and struggled to pay back a $650,000 advance this past year, per David Purdom. This came out of a lawsuit filed by his former marketing agency, which is seeking $2.25 million in damages and legal fees. So probably not the report. Again, is there stuff that happens to professional athletes that, they have to pay back agencies and stuff? Yeah. But right after the gambling stuff, now you're getting news about how apparently he's getting sued for $2.25 million, and he struggled to pay back $650,000 this past year. Either he's just not paying him, or what is going on with Malik Beasley, man? Like, this is one of the most unfortunate stretches, I think, in the last 2 years for Pistons fans. Like, just with the Malik stuff. Like, Malik, the biggest free agent for the Pistons, on the Pistons. Everyone's excited. He's a fan favorite, one of the best sharpshooters in the league. And then, boom, investigated for gambling right when the Pistons and him had an agreement in place on a deal to keep him in Detroit for 3 years. And now we're here.
It's crazy. The man made $60 million in his career. I don't understand how you make that money. Financial decisions, I don't know. But this guy's made $60 million and is sitting here can't pay back $650,000. I know it's not $650 is a lot for someone like one of us boys, but If we made 60 million, you would think, hey, maybe we have $1 million of it saved up. Even if you put in the taxes of like 30 of it, you would think that you save some of it. I don't know what's going on with Malik, man. The situation's a little like when I put the tweet out there, it's just a weird situation. Everything's just all legal. I was even like putting the tweet out like, I wanted to check with you, Jeff. Like, dude, does this even sound right? I don't want to mess this up because it's just like everything going on with Malik Beasley right now is such a. So I don't know. It's a weird topic because you have him getting federally investigated and now this, like he's getting essentially sued for $2.2 million. Like that's in a week. All this is coming out. So it's just bad decisions, I guess. If I would put it at anything, I would say there's a no % chance that sounds like a bomb outside of my house. Oh, it was a motorcycle. That's on me. That's a bit easy mistake to make. Easy mistake.
Yeah, it's an easy mistake. Yeah, easy mix up.
Bomb, pretty close. No, but I mean, dude, there's no chance he signs back with the Pistons. So if there's anyone that has any hope, there's just no way. He's going through too much stuff.
Yeah, the 3 for 42 would come in handy right about now. I tell you that much. But
in the article, it literally said that he was banking on his free agency money to pay the money back. And I think the fact, allegedly, this is what I read. It sounded like now that the gambling stuff came out, the contract didn't come through. So the company or his agency's like, hey, we have to get our money.
I like it's to the point where like you want to say you feel bad, but you can't. Okay, the lawsuit's one thing. If you just weren't a moron and didn't bet on the NBA, let alone sports in general, because you knew you were about to get paid a bag, even before then, like he was putting up good season in Milwaukee. You knew you were going to get paid money. Like, so you weren't going broke anytime soon. No. Obviously, if you're making 60 mil and you can't pay back 650,000, maybe you were, but at the end of the day, that should be like a wake-up call, like, hey, I'm about to get paid a bag. Let's not fuck this up. And unfortunately, again, it sucks for him, but I don't think you can feel bad for somebody if they put themselves in that position. You know what I mean? It's not like a freak accident happened.
No, I agree. I agree.
Wrong decision after wrong decision.
If it comes out and they're like, yeah, he had nothing to do with any of this, the gambling stuff, then I'm going to be like, that's brutal.
Absolutely.
But like Terry Rozier, it came out that he doesn't like he's clear of the charges. I think he still has a contract. He's good to go. It's just the timing for Malik is just so bad.
Yeah, but you can probably sue the hell out of multiple people for anything as far as putting you through that. Like as far as everything that's coming out, like he can sue back and he'll probably get paid money from a team if it comes out. Like I'm sure Terry Rozier, he'll get paid again in the NBA.
Yeah, it's there still is a chance he plays in the NBA, obviously, and let alone maybe even the Pistons, but they have to pivot. Like you can't wait on this to wrap up, you know what I mean, or figure it out. He wouldn't sign for that much money. It would be a significant less amount if he were to get they wouldn't give him 40 mil after all this stuff. But the thing I find the most interesting is Amari Sankofa put this tweet out, and this is interesting.
This makes me so mad. I saw this tweet earlier.
So Amari Sankofa put this out. Beasley led the Pistons with 319 made three-pointers, which I think was second in the league last year. Or he's up there. I don't know exactly where he's at. He had one of the most.
Second in the league by like 2. Yep.
Tim Hardaway Jr. was second on the team with 168. All right. They both nearly accounted for half of the Pistons' total three-point makes. Tough spot to be in, having to replace that position. All right. 46.3% of their threes came from those two guys, and they both just left. So that's half your threes are gone. So that's I mean, that's tough.
That's why the Tim Hardaway stuff, I was like, why wouldn't people want Tim Hardaway back?
Yeah. I will
if you're already losing Beasley.
I will say you replace because Duncan Robinson, I think, made 190 last year. So he's replacing that Tim Hardaway Jr., the amount, but you're not getting 319 made threes, dude. That's crazy. That's insane. I mean, that's like 4 or 5 threes a game, man.
Yeah, to be fair, what's not added into this list, though, is Jaden Ivey as well, who was out for basically the full season. Obviously, you're not getting 320 from Jaden Ivey. But you're adding Jaden Ivey, Karis LeVert, and Duncan Robinson.
From a skill standpoint, yes. I'm talking about from a 3-point standpoint. A 3-point make standpoint. That's tough. So I understand. Like that's why it's very frustrating. It's very frustrating. You lose all that shooting, and then you see Tim Hardaway go to the Nuggets, and the Nuggets just add shooting. That's where this whole thing does stink, you know. And that's where it comes in where they sign and trade for Duncan Robinson, which that was announced a little over an hour ago, which we can talk about that. I will say when it came across my screen, we shouldn't really be surprised. We talked about it yesterday. Luke Kennard, Gary Trent Jr. We named Duncan Robinson, guys that can shoot the ball. Gary Trent re-signed. Obviously, Luke Kennard went to the Hawks while we were live, so Duncan Robinson was still available. And they decided to do a sign-and trade where they send Simone Fontecchio to the Miami Heat in exchange for Duncan Robinson, and they sign him to a 3-year, $48 million deal, about $16 million per year. It is more than what you would have paid Beasley. I think Beasley was 3 for 42. That was the reported number.
Yep.
This is someone who had almost 200 makes last year. The thing is with Duncan is you talk about Malik and how he's not a good defender. Duncan is an awful defender. I mean, he is a liability defender. So the defense, it's not like the guy's bringing anything on defense, but what he is bringing is he can shoot the hell out of the ball. He shot 40% last year. And when you look at Duncan Robinson's game, I think he had the stat. It was like on one dribble pull-up threes. He shot like 45% or something like that. And I also saw Ryan, what he just said, Duncan's second year of the deal, partially guaranteed, third year non-guaranteed. Yeah. So it's structured favorably to the Pistons. But I will say, I like the player. I think if you need shooting, you got someone that has played. He's played in the finals. He's played it for the Miami Heat. They've been in the playoffs. He's made shots in big moments. You know, he's played on those stages. He's obviously the Michigan man, along with Karis LeVert, but just the player Duncan Robinson, it's the best you probably could have gotten in terms of shooting left in free agency. So I like it. I don't mind it, and it's a tradable contract in my opinion. You know, you can
be very tradable,
Yeah,
and you can even waive them if you want to after a certain point as well. Without the guarantees. Now, I like it. I'm all in on the Duncan Robinson train, man. He shoots like 40% from three. I did say anyone over 37, I'm locked in at. I'll say this. I'm still like last night we got off the show. Gary Trent Jr. goes to the Bucks. I don't know if you guys saw the price for that. The Bucks signed Gary Trent for basically $3.5 million a year when Malik Beasley was about to get 14. In my opinion, same player, same exact player. And I was a little disappointed in a guy like that the Pistons don't go in on. And I would have spent like $10 million a year to go get Gary Trent Jr. Maybe he didn't want to. I don't know. But yeah, Duncan, it seems like it's just like a last resort move, in my opinion, which does it make this Pistons team like better than you were 2 months ago when you're playing in the playoffs? Can I be honest with you guys? No, it doesn't. You're either the same or maybe a little down, in my opinion, as of now. Now, if you add more pieces, like, do you guys think Karis LeVert and Duncan Robinson is better than Tim Hardaway Jr.? Who am I missing? Tim Hardaway Jr., Derek Schroeder, and Dennis Schroeder and Malik Beasley? No, they're not. And that's essentially how you kind of replace those three guys so far. And yeah, there's still moves to be made, but I would say like, I'm underwhelmed, in my opinion, with the free agency. I am. And I know, like, I wasn't expecting anything. I know everyone's out there like, Trajan said not to that he's not going to make any moves. Okay. I didn't expect him to make any big moves, but I at least expected him either to bring back those guys, which Malik fell through, or I expected him to bring guys as good, if not better. Do I think he did that? I don't think he went out and did that. I think you can compare those guys at the same level, if not a little lower than what you had. Personally, that's how I feel about it, to be honest. I think they're good signings for what you needed, but that's not like anything significant at the end of the day.
Yeah, I like the Duncan Robinson signing just for the fact I think you're pretty much replacing Tim Hardaway with that. He's worse on defense but more consistent on offense, so it's a draw there. Malik Beasley, you're not getting any better than that, in my opinion. I think LeVert's nice and he can add some offense to that bench. But I think the way that they can kind of upgrade this as far as make this team better is get like a true wing for this bench. Like get somebody that can play defensively because Asar's not going to be able to play all game and lock down the best defender. You need somebody that second unit that defensively can hold it down and put a little bit of size and athleticism out there because they have offense, what you want with Duncan, and then they're going to get it with LeVert as well. And then you look at some of the younger guys they have coming up. But if you have Ron Holland down there with that second unit, pairing another 3 or 4, I think would be good for them.
Yeah, it's definitely not. I'm not going to sit here and say they're better than they were. Dennis
If you want to
Schroeder,
add an Ivy there, someone just said it. If you want to add Ivy, okay, maybe.
but just on paper, like factor in Ivy and all just the bench. Let's just stick with the bench. Malik Beasley, Tim Hardaway Jr., Dennis Schroeder, and you go to now Karis LeVert, who I think actually I love Karis LeVert. I
think he's a good
I know
player.
people are a little more negative on that one. That's fine. It is what it is. I'm not jumping up and down with joy, but I'm not going to sit here and say it's a bad signing. I think it's a fine signing. I don't mind it at all. The Duncan Robinson one, like obviously it's a downgrade in my opinion from Malik Beasley. I think that's the obvious point, but the reality is this is kind of the only. This is how they decided to pivot. I mean, he's the next best thing available. I wish they could have gotten better players. I do. I don't think they're done. They do need a wing really bad. To what you said, they do need a backup 4. And I'm looking at free agency right now, and there's just not really anyone out there that's
No, everyone's
great.
gone. That's why I'm a little underwhelmed with the free agency. And again, like I didn't go into free agency being like Trajan's going to make the big splash moves. Like that's not what I don't think people expected when he had his press conference. He literally said he wasn't. But you still expect him to make moves and moves that are going to help this team push forward. And it's like it doesn't feel like this team pushed forward as far as he could have. Like, and I think, yes, you want to like rely on the players in and develop within, but you still have to bring and like add talent that's going to help elevate this team. And I love Duncan and Karis LeVert. You guys know I'm a Michigan man, but I mean, we're talking about where you have a 16, 17 point per game scorer and at 11 points and at 12 points. So you're, what is that, 30 plus points, boys, 40 points almost. And you added 2 guys that combined for 20-ish points and shoot under 40% from 3. Both of them, you didn't really get a guy that shoots 40%. I don't know if Karis LeVert did this last year, but I know even like Duncan Robinson's at 39. When there were guys out there who were very good role players who could give you that, and vets as well, who could give you 40+% from 3. And they didn't make a push at it. It was every player that we talked about that fit the Pistons perfectly. There was no really rumors that was like, hey, the Pistons are eyeing this guy. Just never heard it.
Here's Johnny says, minus Fontecchio, THJ, and Beasley, contract gymnastics, maintaining viability and flexibility, trusting the core to improve. You're putting a lot of – you got to get this bench, though. They're trying to get this bench kind of what they were last year. Their bench was really good with Malik and Tim Hardaway, and Dennis Schroeder came in late, and Dennis was great for them. They need a backup ball handler. They have Karis who can do it, but I'm talking about a pure point guard.
They don't have one. A backup. Marcus Sasser.
And he's a shooting guard. I mean, he basically plays like a 2 guard, but they don't have a guy like Dennis Schroeder. And the thing was, last night we were talking about it, is there gonna be some sort of sign and trade with the Kings? Well, the Kings traded Valanciunas, saved a couple $1 million, and they're able to keep Malik Monk. So Malik Monk is no longer going to be a Piston. Malik Monk would have been that would have been a move, definitely. But the Kings made it work. They made it work, and
this is the thing too. And I shout out, here's Johnny. And this is the thing with Pistons fans that bothers me a little bit. If you want to be a contender in the NBA, and especially not just the East, but like the NBA as a whole, you shouldn't. And this is how I know so far up to July 1st, the offseason is a little questionable when it comes to player acquisitions. You should never, in the NBA as a contender, have your fans or have people saying that your second round draft pick is going to have to make an impact. Never. Like, that should not be a thing. It should. Like, if that's a thing, then that's an issue, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, that's
if it was a first round, like top 15, top 20, okay, we can have a conversation. We're talking about a second round pick. I watched Mike Dunleavy speak with the press today or yesterday about the 2 draft picks that they had in Golden State. They had 2 second round picks. And you know what he said about them? He essentially said, we're a contending team. We drafted these 2 guys to hopefully they don't have to play a minute this year. And they're ready to go the next year. But he was like, we never draft second round picks that we expect them to play and contribute. We never lean back on that. And it feels like right now with the Malik Beasley situation that Pistons fans are like, Chaz Lanier can start for you, or not start. He can get you a rotation because he could shoot. It's like, yeah, I hope so. Like, I think there's a chance he could. But the fact that people are actually sitting here being like, he's going to have to do it. Dude, what are we doing here, man? Go out and get some vets in free agency that can shoot. What are we doing sitting here talking about Chaz Lanier getting minutes in July 1st?
I mean, if he gets minutes, you found a really good player. Typically, to your point, you're not trying to play second-round picks.
You're hoping that it's like, hey, our team's good enough to where your second-round pick probably isn't going to get minutes. Unless there's the hope where you just drafted an absolute dog.
Yeah, which is a high unlikelihood, usually, in the second round of the NBA,
There's like 1 or 2 a year, and you better hope you have them if that's what Chaz is. I hope he is.
The biggest thing, and everyone in the chat's agreeing with it, is the Beasley stuff, man. It kind of dictated this whole thing. It just started off with an absolute bang. I mean, that was on Sunday, right before
threw everything off.
Monday. So that put a stop in everything, and they had to pivot, get Duncan Robinson. It's just I
do like the 2 signings too. I want people to think I don't. Like the Duncan signing, I think is perfect.
They're good signings. They're just not. You're not looking at this team going, yeah, they're better.
Compared to what other teams too around the league have done, you're just sitting there going, they're. If I made my own prospect list for free agency, both of them probably don't crack the top 10.
Yeah, I mean, I think. Again, Karras can be like a 15-point a game guy. I think he could fill the scoring, but he's not he's not that type of guy that,
he's going to get you 7 threes in one game.
Yeah, like that's, or even, like at a consistent basis. That would probably be Duncan, but they had Tim Hardaway and Duncan that can kind of shoot the hell out of the ball. They probably need one more guy, but the wings available, I looked, they're not great. Maybe they can scavenge up somebody. Maybe they can make a trade. There's still more time. But as of right now, so far, you have Duncan Robinson and Caris LeVert. It's like, it is a little underwhelming for a team that I think many people expected. Like, okay, they're gonna get much better. And I'm not talking about big trades or anything, like you said, Boone. I'm not even talking about that because I wasn't even expecting that. But I just don't. I mean, these signings are whatever to me. Like, they're good signings. It doesn't.
Good pieces.
I'm not going to say, watch out, Pistons have arrived in the East. I'm just not.
To be honest, like if Malik Beasley stayed, I don't know about you guys. Like I still would have loved them to get Duncan Robinson and Caris LeVert.
Yeah, that's what Beasley and LeVert would have been incredible to have coming as your 6th and 7th man.
That's why I think it's disappointing, is because like even if Beasley's like, I don't think you just sign these guys because Beasley's gone. I think it's like if Beasley was here, I would have been like, go still get Duncan, trade Fontecchio. I don't know if you could have done it price wise or kind of how that all worked out.
Yeah, it would have been multiple guys kind of around the same number, but they still would be able to use him. And again, if this all goes right and he doesn't get charged, you can bring him back. You can bring him back. And I want to know, I guess I would like to know so far, what grade are you giving Trajan Langdon, man? And what's your thoughts on kind of the job he's done so far? Because shout out Chris, he says Beasley F the Pistons, can't put that on Trajan. Glad we have all our first plus 7 extra seconds. Time to make a move is later. I'd give Trajan a B.
Can I ask Chris how later? Are we talking about like end of like closer to the season, trademark, like the trade deadline, next off season? I'm interested on people's thoughts process on this.
I do agree with Chris though with the grade. I think I'd probably give him about a B as well. I don't think I'd go anything higher. I see B plus. I mean the plus thing, and I'd give him a B, B minus, something like in that range. I wouldn't mind because I think they're good signings. I just don't think they're great signings.
I think he could have. if you're being honest, like he's probably, and I know you could say, well, he couldn't have done more because it would have happened. Like I think if Trajan, obviously, like you said, the Malik stuff throws everything off, so you can't blame him for that. But I think you could go out and get better talent and still be adding right now at least another player or two.
I would have to
pass him by.
I don't hate the B.
Yeah, this is
I think it's just an average
unfinished grade, obviously, but
yeah, I would give like a B. Like I look at it as a B, like it's just an average off season or free agency. You're only 2 days in. Like there's a lot of people in the chat saying like, hey, there is still time over the next few weeks, next month, to, you know, get a sign and trade done, kind of work some more deals out and see what happens. Yeah, I'm right there with the B. I think it's just average. Like if they would have went out and got, I keep saying the guy's name, but Gary Trent, and you add Karis LeVert, Gary Trent, and you go get yourself like a stretch 4. I think that's like an 8 right there. That would be an A offseason, in my opinion. But like you just see teams all around the NBA right now, like contending teams, adding the pieces. Like, dude, what Denver's doing right now, I think needs to be noticed a little bit. And I'm not going to, if I'm being honest, I'm guessing Denver's odds to win the championship are going to be lower behind the Thunder and a couple of other teams. I'm going to take them to win the championship next year. Like I'll put a bet on it. Like they went out and got Cam Johnson, Bruce Brown, that you talk about, Jeff. No, literally guys that you talked about, Bruce Brown, Jonas Valanciunas, they go and added them to their roster. And they just started making room. And then Tim Hardaway Jr. they added. Like they're adding pieces to this roster where it's like they're filling out the roster correctly and they're getting needs. Or it's like the Pistons. It feels like Trajan's treating it as like Brad Holmes year 2 with the Lions. That's how it feels like, if I'm being honest, where he's like, we're not rushing to add what we need. We're just getting the best talent we can. That's how it feels.
Yeah, I mean, it's an offseason where they're replacing, probably not really necessarily upgrading. They're just replacing Malik, and I wouldn't even say it's a replacement because Duncan was more of a Tim Hardaway Jr. replacement. Karis LeVert, he'll replace the points, but it's more lateral to me. I don't think they got significantly worse, but I wouldn't say this team's much better than what they were last year. They still got it. You mentioned a stretch 4. I mean, I'm leaning more on that veteran point guard, man. You still need.
I think you need both. That's why I think this offseason's been so weird.
You still need like a floor general or something. You know,
you're missing multiple pieces.
Yeah, you need someone to play with. If you're staggering minutes and you have someone playing with Ivy or Cade, like Dennis Schroeder would have been a really good fit, but he went to the Kings, made a good amount of money. Good for him, but
Cole Anthony.
Yeah, Cole. I mean, well, yeah. I mean, he's more of like a scorer, but I would still like. I mean, it would be cool. He's more like he basically be like, if you're gonna pick
another ball handler,
Karis or Cole Anthony. You know, they're both like bucket getters. I like Cole Anthony a lot, though.
Yeah, I think Cole would be more of a point guard, right? Like,
but he's more of just he's a good. He can score the ball. I mean, I like Cole Anthony, but
now can I ask you guys? Can I ask a question now about this? Would you rather have signed a backup point guard for $11 million over the next 2 years, or B-ball Paul for $2 million over the next 2 years? For $11 million over the next 2 years.
Well, B-ball Paul,
I'll take the point guard, Boone.
I'm not. Yeah.
Okay, good. Now, would you guys rather have a stretch 4 for 2 years for $11 million, or B-ball Paul 2 years, $11 million?
You know the answer to that.
I'll take the stretch 4, Boone.
Okay, I just making sure that Trajan's making the right decisions because, in my opinion, that was the wrong decision. Go out and get someone else that's gonna add a different. I get it, but go make another move. Simple as that. Or if you're like, hey, we need another 5, which I still think you do. I don't know if then go out and get a 5-man that has a little bit of a shot as well that can stretch it and play the 4. That's kind of a little bit flexible. So you just added kind of a 2-in-1 position there, a third 5, and a kind of a stretch 4 type guy.
Toasty Waffle. I don't know if this is true, but Toasty Waffle says Malik Beasley had a Bentley parked illegally in front of the Stott building downtown where he lived for a bit, and its tires were flat with a bunch of parking tickets on it. It's a very oddly
specific. So random. It's just very random.
It's a very oddly specific message.
Is that I don't know if is this like allegedly or is this real?
I don't know.
I can't tell if this is real. I mean, he did say the Stott building, which is like very specific.
It is very specific, actually. Part of me is like kind of wants.
It's a down bad. It's just a down bad time.
Can we admit, boys? And shout out Coach Walk. Love Coach Walk. Shout out the donation the other day. Can we admit, like, it's not that easy, but it is that easy. Just don't re-sign Paul Reed and go after a different position. I don't think it's that hard. Like, I think you could have easily, after the run you just went on in Detroit, you could have easily went out and found some. Brook Lopez just, I think, got $11 million wherever he went. Let me go look. Let's look at. Hold on, Brook Lopez. Where did Brook Lopez go?
The Clippers.
Okay, let's look at Brook Lopez's contract. I just want to see. 2-year, 18. You wouldn't pay $5 more million for Brook Lopez.
He can shoot the rock now behind the arc, too.
He can stretch out if you need him to.
He's like a poor man's Miles Turner at this point.
I don't think what I'm saying here, the pushback on that signing, is that crazy, man. I think it's more I think people should be talking about that a little bit more. That seems like one of the downfalls in this free agency over the last 48 hours.
Uncle Al. He's still out there, Al Horford.
He's going to the Warriors. I'm convinced.
Uncle Al?
There's a clip coming for that career as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, what is he, 38 years old probably at this point? Still playing some good ball, though?
Oh, yeah, he still plays.
Brent says mid-season trades, two fellas. We have a very strong team that is young. Yeah, no one's really arguing the young talent. I think it's more just the bench unit I'm referring to.
Yeah, I think you can't, like, there's no denying the young talent, but you're not going to go far with young talent if you don't have, like, veteran key role players, and that's what the bench needs. Like, you're going to have Cade, you're going to have Asar, you're going to have Ivy, you're going to have Duran. Like, you have enough youth on that starting five already. They need the role players around them to kind of help them where they haven't been yet, especially, like, late in the season in the playoffs. That's where you need those key veterans.
Yeah, because Brent is right. I mean, they could make a midseason trade. It's just hard to convince fans to be like, wait till the deadline. You know?
Especially if, like, there's, like, you're starting to play a little bad and you get off to a rough start if something happens. And I keep going with this B-Ball Paul stuff, boys. I apologize. But Weezy D said B-Ball Paul being considered a nothing burger is wild. I don't think I ever said he's a nothing burger. We actually agreed yesterday that B-Ball Paul, and Eric said it, did have a role. Like, he stepped in. But to my point, what's more important on this team? Your third center or a stretch four or your backup point guard that you currently do not have? Probably the guys that are should be in the second rotation.
Yeah. I mean, I think B-Ball Paul is a good role player, locker room guy, but
I feel bad. It's like B-Ball Paul catching strays, but it's the game, man. It's part of the business.
Yeah.
Marcus Sasser, Weezy D, that's your backup point guard to win a championship. How sick, dude. That's going to get you somewhere, huh?
Sick, dude.
That's going to be such
Vinny.
a good exactly, Vinny. Like, what are we talking about, Weezy D? Talking out of you know what? Man. You don't know what you're talking about, Weezy D.
Chili says B-Ball Paul is only a 1 year with team option for second. Yeah, I mean, it's just
either way though. It's just the point. You could have went out and got someone that a position of need.
Yeah, because you're saying, Boone, if they sign another big man or they sign a power forward or something, and they fill out the roster how we kind of expect them to, or fill out the bench, and they have B-Ball Paul, you're like, okay. But as it sits right now with B-Ball Paul, it's like, that's tricky.
Very tricky.
You know, that's a tricky one, man. Dalton says, fuck it, bring in Fultz and see if Fred can fix his broken jumper. Yeah, I mean,
at this point, what would your reaction be to a Markelle Fultz signing?
I would throw my phone. I would throw my phone if that's the offseason we're having.
Yeah, that's a whole nother thing. Real quick, before we move on and get to other things, I do got to tell you about our friends over at Comer and Cross, because they are a proud sponsor of the show and they do some great work. I know you guys, a lot of homeowners in the chat. With that being said, you'd understand. With one-day installation concrete floor coatings, garages, basements, patios, you can call Comer and Cross today, 248-834-3488, and get your garage floor and other things like patios, pool decks, basements, even driveways fixed. especially if they're cracked. Comer and Cross will take care of you. They'll move out the stuff for you. They're a reliable company. They're a professional company. And they have a deal going on right now, the summer installation sale. They're offering 12 months, same as cash, or $500 in savings. They'll repair your cracks and pits before applying your stunning new floor, guaranteed. Call the number 248-834-3488 or book your free estimate at comercross.com. Tell them your friends over at Crunch Time Sports sent you. All right, let's get back to the show. All right, we are back. Shout out to Comer and Cross. And I don't want to hate on B-Ball Paul. Don't want to use this as a outlet to crap on the man for getting paid. But I do want to say that you're still looking for a backup forward of some sort. They do need a little more size. I think right now they have, I think it's like Ron and Bobby Klitman. And I like Bobby Klitman, but unless they know something we don't know. Unless we know something we don't know.
I think they're just relying on guys to get better. I think they're just, and it could happen. Listen, we could end up all looking back and being like, everyone got better. All right, there we go. That's what Trajan was waiting for. But I don't like relying. Like, I would like them to get better and you to put the right pieces around them.
Dalton says, you think a trade for John Collins could still be in play? I don't know. I mean, yeah, I think Trajan's definitely looking at all things right now. I think Utah does want to move on from him. But the Pistons Twitter today just absolutely crapping on the man, John Collins, and being like, he makes little to no impact on the court.
Is that really?
Yeah, it's like he's a bad defender and he puts up inflated stats in Utah. It's like all this stuff. It's like, guys, if you want to say no to a guy who can get you 28 and 40% from three, I don't know what to tell you. You know what I mean? I don't know what to tell you. He's a lob threat. Is he a game breaker? No, but he's a good player. He's a good player.
And you're acting like the East right now. I mean, Indiana has fallen apart. With Miles Turner leaving there, Indiana will not be a threat at all, at least next year. Boston, I still think Boston is going to be Cleveland. Like, the East is wide open. I mean, I think if Asar Thompson takes a very big step forward, which I think is possible, especially watching him in the playoffs, this Pistons starting five is going to be great. Where in the East, like, when you get in the playoffs, yes, definitely having a weak bench is going to hurt even more. But if you add a player like John Collins, like the opportunities for you, especially seeding in the East high, I think are enormous with how it's set up right now. Like, you do not need much. Like, there's not a team that you can just look at in the East right now and say, watch out for them. They're going to run it. Like, I think the Knicks will be there as well. I like what they did with Jordan Clarkson, but there's still a lot of question marks as far as what's going on there as an organization. I don't think you can just lock them as, like, they're going to be good, but they're kind of in the same tier as the Cavs at this point, in my opinion, for different reasons. But neither of the teams right now or in the East right now stick out.
I will say, and I do want to get to the East in a little bit here. I saw PD Mag. Shout out PD Mag, man. Appreciate you for tuning in, PD. He says, go get Portis. Bobby Portis, did he sign?
I think he signed with the Bucks. I could be wrong. I think he signed an extension.
$44 million contract extension.
Yeah, I think he got an extension. I wouldn't hate the Bobby Portis one. I think Bobby Portis is a championship four-man. So I wouldn't have hated that. That would have been a good signing. That extension.
He's been in Milwaukee the last 5 years. I don't see him going anywhere.
I don't see the John Collins, like, why you would hate that signing. Like, it only adds more to your team at the end of the day. I'm shocked that there's Pistons fans out there. I mean, this guy almost averages 20 a game last year for the Jazz. And, I mean, even throughout his career in the Hawks, like 15, 17, and he gets you boards. I mean, he's a good – I mean, what are we talking about? Are people really saying that?
Yeah.
Dude shoots 40%, 37%. I mean, in big games, too. What does he do in the playoffs? Let me see. Maybe in the playoffs he shrunk, but kind of. But either way, I mean, 34% from three in the playoffs, 36, 35. But I don't know.
He would play with good players.
I think with Cade, I think with this team, Asar, Jalen Duren, Tobias Harris kind of would be on the wing. I think John Collins would be a perfect fit for this team. Like, think about last year's team. If you add John Collins in there, I think it changes everything, having that four-man in that spot.
Yeah. No, I agree. I'm open to it. I like John Collins. I do. I would still be open to it. You probably would have to get rid of Tobias Harris, but I'm cool with that. He's on an expiring deal, Tobias Harris is. So you're not going to extend him. So you have to figure out what you're going to do with that. I do want to ask you guys, though, looking at the East, now that we're kind of free agency is not over, but as of right now, examining the East and how it stands, I'm going to give you teams. You tell me if the Pistons are better or worse than as of right now. Okay, can we do that?
Yeah, let's roll.
All right. So the East stacked up last year. I'm going to go through the seedings. So we're going to get to some teams that maybe are lower than the Pistons that you can kind of base off what they did in free agency. So the first one we'll go is the top seed, the Cleveland Cavaliers. We can all agree.
Better than the Pistons.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's not even a debate there.
Add Alonzo Ball, too, coming off the bench. It's a good addition.
All right, Cleveland. And then you have the Celtics, even with Tatum's injury.
Better than the Pistons.
Yeah. You'd probably put them right there as well.
Knicks.
Yeah, better than the Pistons.
Pacers, I'd say no right now with all the injuries they have.
Pacers messed up. We didn't even talk about that today. Pacers are done. That was one of the dumbest moves I've ever seen in NBA history, I think, coming off an NBA Finals. One of the dumbest moves. Not paying Miles Turner.
Yeah.
They essentially they lowballed him an offer. I think like $20 million a year, just something insanely low because they didn't want to go over their luxury tax. And all they had to do was just go a couple million over luxury tax to retain him and then to give him the contract the Bucks did. And he essentially just goes to a rival team. Like the Bucks and Pacers, like I believe they're rivals. And especially in the playoffs, they're going to be. And so, like, you just come off of NBA Finals, lose Tyrese Halliburton, and then you just let Miles Turner just walk away like that to a team that you're going to have to see every single year in the playoffs. Like that was one of the that might have been one of the worst things that I've ever seen in the NBA.
It's big. It's bad.
Now on the other side, the Bucks just waving Dame. And I think it was the first time in 30 years in the NBA that a team's ever spread out a contract like that. In the NFL, it happens all the time. First time, I think, in like 30 years in the NBA. They're essentially playing Miles Turner $50 million a year. What it comes down to. That's crazy.
Well, the people in the chat that are saying the Celtics, they don't have Tatum, which I agree. You know, the Celtics were 8-2 without Tatum, right? And they beat the Pistons twice without Tatum. So let's slow our roll here by just assuming that just because Tatum's not there, they're gonna suck. Let's just so I'm gonna go Celtics on that one. Cleveland, Celtics, Knicks. You know, they gave them a series, but still, I think I would give the edge of the Knicks. So that's 3 teams. Pacers, we agree no. Bucks.
That's a tough one. That's a very tough one. I think
Kuzma, Giannis, Miles Turner. I mean, I would probably go. I mean, you can hate it or not. I'll probably go the Bucks still with Giannis.
That's how
Giannis is better than Cade at the end of the day. Right now, he's a top 3 player in the NBA. Miles Turner, I hate the price that they paid and what they did. If they kept Dame, they would have been fine. I don't know if they could have done that though, but Miles Turner obviously still adds some. Kyle Kuzma, Gary Trent, Kevin Porter. They obviously need to go out and get another point guard, but Bobby Portis as well. I left Bobby Portis, Taron Green. Yeah, or Taron Prince. I apologize. Yeah, they have a squad.
Okay, Bucks. We agree better. The Orlando Magic. Desmond Bane, Paulo. Franz.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. And the Magic always play the Pistons fucking tough, dude. They do. I'm gonna go based on the offs. I think Desmond Bane is gonna be good. I'm gonna go slight Magic. Slightly. It could change with like a move or two by the Pistons. But if you're talking about going into 2025, you're pulling hairs. But I think Desmond Bane, I mean, he even lit the Pistons. We were there. Desmond Bane lit up the Pistons for damn near 40 when we went and saw him. And he's good defensively.
Non-biased. You have to go Magic. You do. You have to go to the Orlando Magic.
I agree with you guys.
You have to. If you don't, then you probably haven't watched basketball in like 15 years.
Heat, no. So we'll just get that out the way. The Hawks.
I'm going Pistons over Hawks.
Yeah, I'll get the Pistons for sure.
Okay.
Hawks made some good moves. You guys know that. I said that yesterday. Hawks added a couple good pieces. They went out and got Dyson Daniels. They added a few other pieces. I would go the Pistons, though. Like, if you gave me them in a series, they beat them probably in 5 or 6.
5, yeah. I don't think Trae Young is someone that you can truly like build around. I think he's someone where you add him next to a number 1 and he's going to shine. But as far as building around Trae Young, I don't think that you can do that compared to somebody like Cade Cunningham. Like, Trae can't wipe Cade's shoes. And I know that Trae hit the buzzer beater this year, but no.
Well, based on what and I'm not going to go through the rest of the teams in the East. They're not good. But based on what we're talking about, that would put the Pistons 6th in the East. Cleveland, Boston, New York, Milwaukee, Orlando. That's Pistons are 6th, and they were the 6th seed last year. So
yeah,
it's about where they were.
I think. Listen, I'm going to stand on this until there's more moves made, and I hope there is. But as of now, like 8:47, July 1st, they didn't do enough to move up in the East currently compared to what some of the other East teams did. You're sitting there and you're going like you were expecting to. Now, if you want to be like, hey, like, how are our internal players going to do? Are they going to improve? And if you told me, hey, yeah, they're going to get better, okay, maybe we're going to have that conversation. But you did not do enough in the first 2 days of free agency and in last week in the NBA draft to say, hey, this team went. They finished 6th, Jeff, you said, in the East last year. They're still the 6th best team, which is disappointing in my opinion. You just finished the year as the 6th best team, almost beat the Knicks. You should have beat the Knicks if you had Isaiah Stewart in the playoffs, and you didn't take a step forward the first 48 hours of free agency. Swing and a miss.
Yeah.
Whether it was your fault or not because of the Beasley stuff, but either way, swing and a miss.
Let's see. I see PD Max says I got them 5th. Orlando has to prove it to me. Even 5th. It's like, okay, they're still 5th. You know, and that's it. And a lot of it banks on how their young players develop like that. And that's it could be scary to rely on that. Like a Star Thompson, what does he look like? Ron Holland in his 2nd year. Ivy coming off an injury. Cade, we don't even have to discuss it. We know what he's going to bring. But Duran, like, these guys all have to take a jump, a significant jump, or maybe not, but a pretty good jump. And if they do that, maybe you can slide them up a little higher. You know what I mean? But as of right now, we don't have evidence to know what kind of jump these players are going to take. You can assume it, but some of the guys could be just lateral. They could be this pretty much the same player. But if some of these guys do get better, then you're in a really good spot.
Yeah, like Shipcott said, like if they develop, you're good. I think that's kind of what Trajan's leaning on. So if they do develop, okay, well, I'm fine with that. But I don't think there's any. I don't know. I feel like I'm beating a dead horse here. I just don't feel like there's like any. You don't hurt yourself. Like you don't shoot yourself in the foot if you go out there and just get improvements around those guys.
I mean, how much does Ivy being back help? Like, what kind of impact does he make? It's like,
I think if you're talking about the Pistons, like, I mean, I think it'd be fair to say Ivy healthy that there's definitely a better chance that they beat the Knicks. So translate that this year with, again, the young core improving around them. Like, again, I think if you're talking about 6, like if Ivy comes back, has a really nice season, I think that they could give the Pistons to the 4 seed. But I don't think Ivy coming back is with the other, like with, again, going back to the bench issues. I think if you look at the top of the East, like a lot better bench situations. I think that's when the Pistons kind of crack that top 4 when Ivy's coming back. But I mean, again, there's a lot of things that can go on.
That's the question. Is like, what does Ivy do to the lineup here? I think he makes a pretty big impact. But I'm not willing to say that they're a top 4 team. I mean, you want to argue the Magic because you have to see it fine, but I don't. I mean, Ivy's got to be a 20-point guy. You know what I mean? Which he can do that. I'm not saying he can't do that, but you need some guys to turn into stars. That's what you need. You need
someone has to. You need a star to kind of improve.
Yeah, if Asar turns into like a 17-point-a-game guy, you're in a pretty good spot.
Yeah. You know who really you need to count on to make a step this year? I think Ron Holland.
Yeah, Ron Holland.
You need Ron Holland to go to year 1 to year 2 jump a little bit and get you a little bit more this next season. Because remember in the start down the stretch, there were those like Ron Howard would get in the game and you couldn't really rely fully when he would get put in the playoffs to really like make an impact. And you would be like, kind of, remember Caleb was just like grasping a little bit, like, just don't mess up when you go in there. And then he would like do something stupid and you're like, well, what are you doing? Like, you need him to like take that next jump, that next step. You really do.
Yeah. And Tommy says a star will be a star 100%. Yeah, I mean, I hope, man, a star,
banking on it.
It's really just offensively, you know, I mean, defensively, the guy can lock down. He does great things. But offensively, if he can just get a serviceable 3, now we're cooking. Now we're cooking with a Star Thompson. The offense is the problem. He can dunk the ball, but free throw shooting, he doesn't have. It's not like the guy has a consistent mid-range. He doesn't get a consistent mid-range jumper, a dribble pull-up. He's not really creating shots. He's more just around the rim. He's an around the rim type of player. That's what he is on offense. So I really hope he takes that next step. Asar's a big one. I think he could be really good, but we got to see some of that catch and shoot action, you know, from Asar Thompson here. Just shoot like 34%, 35%. We're not asking for any of these other guys. Lance says, I think Detroit needs a backup point guard and power forward, and they are very dangerous next season. Yeah, I agree.
Thank you, Lance.
Backup PG, and they're only going to probably play 8-9 guys anyway. And right now you have the starting 5. Isaiah Stewart, Duncan Robinson, Karis LeVert, that's 3.
According to some people, Weezy D, Marcus Sasser.
No, he'll be on the bench. He'll play sometimes, but he's not going to be a bad.
You need a point guard. Yeah, you do. They
need another forward. That's what they need. They need a three
stretch 4.
Wing.
Yeah, stretch 4 that could play the wing or help down low, and then you need a backup point guard.
And Ron Holland. So there you go. But another bigger, I would prefer a bigger power forward who could shoot.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless, it's something. Listen, the Pistons, it hasn't been overwhelming. It's been a little slightly underwhelming, but they're not done. So we'll see what happens there. We'll be covering it. We'll talk to Sean later. He'll be joining the show. But
I'm interested to hear Sean's thoughts, to be honest.
Yeah, I do want to know what's going on with that. But before we do that, I do want to get to your question for the boys, Boone. Booner's question of the day, Tuesday.
Yeah, there we go. So we are changing to the Lions. Is that okay with the people?
I would assume it's okay.
We haven't talked Lions since last week.
Well, Booner's question is worth talking Lions for. So I mean,
what's
been on your mind?
I don't know if you guys heard the news, the TJ Watt situation. Have you guys heard about this?
I did see it. Yeah.
So the TJ Watt is still holding out for a contract. On the other side as well, same division, you have Trey Hendrickson as well holding out. I saw someone kind of bring this up a little bit, and I thought it was interesting because there's another top-tier edge rusher not holding out, but is sitting there waiting for a contract in Aidan Hutchinson. Fellas, I couldn't help but thought about this yesterday. Is there a serious world right now where Aidan Hutchinson's contract negotiations, everyone around the NFL is like sitting on a pillar waiting for the Detroit Lions and Aidan Hutchinson to pull the rug and to get a deal done? And then Trey Hendrickson's deal will get done. TJ Watt's deal will get done as soon as Hutch is done. Like, do you think these guys are sitting there being like, we will not do a deal until we see what Hutch gets because we want to go above him? Do you see what I'm saying here?
What do you think Hutch is thinking? I want to wait till these guys get paid.
That's my whole point. Is do you think we're sitting here in like a circle of life, not even circle of life, a circle of contracts, and you're sitting there going, everyone's just waiting for the trigger to be pulled, and no one's doing it because they're all waiting for the other person to do it, and that's why there's this big holdup right now. Because it's weird that just not one of these 3. These are the 3 top edge rushers outside of Myles Garrett in the NFL. And not one of them is getting done. Not one. We're in July. Like, training camp is this month. We are in training camp month. And not one of those guys' deals or extensions has been done. I think they're all just sitting there telling their agents and coaches and their or front office being like, Once that deal gets done, let's see what they get. Let's go up above it. I think there's something to that. I really do.
That's what happens. It's like, and then unless there's a player like Amon-Ra that just takes the money, he'll just be like,
that's why I'm like, Hutch, just do it.
Yeah, I don't know. I would assume that they've been talking. I mean, you still have the Anzalone stuff kind of lurking too.
That's why, and then it all goes back to they're waiting to see what Hutch gets so they can get Anzalone done, and they can't get Anzalone done until Hutch is done, and they can't figure out what they can do with Zadarius Smith until Hutch is done. Everything lies on Aidan Hutchinson, T.J. Watt, Trey Hendrickson, Zadarius Smith, Alex Anzalone. Everything circles back of the circle of life of contracts to what is Aidan Hutchinson and his deal doing. I thought of this yesterday and my mind just went.
Yeah, it is. I think there's truth to that. I don't know. I'm curious. The pecking order we kind of know. Aidan's obviously the priority. I don't know timeline wise when he gets that money though. I don't know when it is. Is it this offseason? I would think so. He's probably going to be in that 35 million ballpark. But TJ Watt, unless he's holding out, the Steelers shouldn't make this that long of a. I mean, just sign the guy whatever he wants.
Yeah, I think TJ Watt will get signed. I think if you're looking at Trey Hendrickson, TJ Watt, I think there's two different type of situations going. I think if you're TJ Watt, again, like you said, Boone, in the AFC North, you're looking at Myles Garrett. TJ Watt has put up the same production, won Defensive Player of the Year awards, just like Myles Garrett. And he's only, I think, like a year older. Like, I think it's a little over a year than Myles Garrett is. And he's saying, you just brought in Aaron Rodgers, DK Metcalf, and Jalen Ramsey, who don't even like each other. And you're making all these moves, but I'm sitting here and I'm asking to be paid like the best defensive player in football because currently I am, if it's not just Myles Garrett. And then on the flip side with Trey Hendrickson and the Bengals, just a cheap organization. I think, like, yes, you're obviously going to be watching the market, but with TJ Watt, like, I don't think he's looking at Aidan Hutchinson and be like, we're seeing what he's going to do because Hutch with the leg, there's no certainty there. Like, TJ Watt wants to get paid and he wants to get paid right now. And the Steelers are just doing everything but what they're supposed to. Like, what are the Steelers going to look like when Aaron Rodgers, DK Metcalf, and Jalen Ramsey are all having their diva meltdowns in the middle of a game when it's week 10? And you're now just saying, hey, we're going to go ahead and pay those guys and leave TJ Watt, make him unhappy. I don't think anything that the Steelers are doing right now as an organization, or the Bengals for that matter, have anything to do with outside, that they are just making the wrong moves.
Yeah, the Bengals thing is a whole separate thing. They're not, I mean, that I doubt they'll even pay Trey. That's just like
Shamar Stewart's still sitting there unsigned.
Yeah, that's like its own situation. You know, TJ, I don't think there should be much thought into paying him. But
I think I'll say this. I think I'm more TJ Watt. They will pay. I don't think there's actually a bad issue with the TJ Watt deal. I think it's just done. Yeah, I think it just more so might be one of those situations. You know how some contracts take time with like the language, and it's just like, hey, this is taking.
Yeah, they're
long.
paying Aaron Rodgers like $10 million. You know,
yeah,
like,
I don't think they're actually sitting there being like, we don't want to pay you. I think it's more so like, hey, this contract with agent to GM is just taking a little too long. Which is like, it's not that either side doesn't want to get it done. Where the TJ or the Trey Hendrickson one is like, that's one where like the Bengals barely talk to him, and that one's more of a, or like even with Hutch. I know the Hutch thing isn't a big deal, but Brad comes out a couple months ago and says we've already been working with them on a contract. So like we know there is a contract in play. That's why I'm confused why it's not done yet. If he mentioned that, that's why it's weird. That's why I think he's waiting to see.
Yeah, I mean, Hutch still has what a year or two left on his deal.
Two this year and the next year.
They're not really in a rush to. They don't have to get it done this offseason. Technically, they can wait. You want to get it done earlier because if he goes out this year, wins Defensive Player of the Year, now he's going to be the highest paid. You know, he's going to try and be the highest paid defensive end. So
it's a risk for both sides for the Hutch situation. It really is.
And that's just business in general. I was talking to someone last weekend. He's a big Brian Branch guy, huge Brian Branch guy, and he's worried that they're not gonna be able to keep him. He's stressing, and he said he's a little upset that they paid Kirby, and they might not be able to pay Brian Branch. He's like that's how bad he loves Brian Branch.
They'll find a way.
Yeah,
that's the other thing they got to figure out. Like he's probably gonna be the highest paid safety too. Like
they'll find a way. They will.
You know, that's
trade somebody to keep Brian Branch.
Yeah,
Brian Branch they don't grow on trees.
They restructure a couple deals. They'll figure that one out. You got to think too. This offensive line is getting a lot younger as well. So those deals, like you're dropping some money in certain spots.
And Goff gonna have to restructure.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of things that happen.
Gonna have to free up 20 mils.
That's
So,
why you don't spend all of your money this year in free agency, so you can carry some over to the next year and so on and so on.
Nick P says, I think Holmes lets Aidan walk so he can re-sign Branch, J-Mo, Campbell, and Laporta. Get out of here.
That would be the worst decision
That's insane.
in NFL history if you let Aidan
That's
Hutchinson
insane.
walk, a top 5 edge rusher in the NFL, the second most important position in the NFL.
I would lose 2 of those guys just to get Aidan. I don't
Yeah.
even care.
Yeah, I would honestly,
I'd lose 3.
I would let J-Mo walk, and I would let Laporta walk. I would draft a tight end like you could draft a tight end pretty, maybe not that good, but you can find a way.
Yeah, I don't know. I hopefully we get some in the next. I mean, football's this month, fellas. At the end of the month, we got the Hall of Fame game. So training camp's coming up, and the next couple weeks you have the preseason, and then we're going here. So if contract extensions don't get done by then, I don't know what this whole thing with Anzalone. I don't know how that goes. Then at that point, you negotiate mid-season. I don't know, or does Anzalone say, you know what, screw it, I'm hitting free agency then? Like, all right, cool, or trade me or something. I don't know.
Do you have when does training camp start?
Like 3 weeks, 4 weeks,
Let's see.
a little over 3 weeks.
That's coming up so fast, man.
Mm-hmm.
Can I ask you a question about a player potentially cut? Can I just ask a question? We can do a topic later. Can I just throw a question out there? I saw it today.
Yep.
Shout out, Proud of Detroit. Can I get a confidence level, like a wellness check on you, Jeff? 1 to 10. Hendon Hooker not make the roster. 53 man. I saw this today. I'm Proud of Detroit, and I was like, need to make sure Jeff's okay over there.
I mean, not making the roster would be.
I don't know if they said it specifically. I just saw them do an article about Hendon Hooker, and I was like, it made me think a little bit.
I would say if 10 is like the worst worst panic, I'm probably at like 5.
For Hendon Hooker to be cut?
Yeah, I'm not. I don't think he gets cut. I don't see it. I'm at about a 5. Now, if training camp he's not playing well, might go to a 7. But as of right now, I'm probably at a good 5 right now.
I don't think he can be in training camp and like just be decent. Like, I think he has to.
He's to show flashes.
He has to really like go out there and
win the job. Win that.
If he looks like last year. Remember when we went to training camp? We went like 7 days. Remember every day? We were like, and it'll be okay. He's gonna be fine. First full training camp, he's gonna be good.
And then preseason, he looked good.
Yeah, I mean, some of his best plays though were just on the ground. It was really just him being kind of a little mobile. He made the touchdown run.
No. But that's the highlight. But they won.
But he like ran the ball in for a touchdown. He lowered his shoulder, had that exciting play. He ended up getting a concussion where everyone's like, he had like a spin move, I think, to everyone's like, whoa! Like he wasn't out there throwing like 40-yard bombs on the run. Like it wasn't. He was just decent. Like he was good. Like he did what he was supposed to do.
Yeah.
He needs to do more than that, in my opinion, to keep a job.
Especially a year later. I don't think that's bad. Yeah.
I think
Perkins in the chat. Hendon Hooker's worst nightmare.
Friend of the program. Bringing that man to Detroit.
Perkins, the MVP. The absolute MVP. Yeah, they probably should bring in another quarterback. But yeah, I don't think. I mean, do you guys think he can get cut? I mean, let's just
100%. Yes. No. Yes. You could bring in a vet quarterback. If he isn't close to being a legit solidified backup where you can trust, right away you bring in a backup quarterback. Instantly. You bring a vet in. You make a trade or something.
Like, I don't think he'll be cut. I think he'll play out his rookie contract with Detroit. I don't think anybody's going to trade for him. If they do, like, I think it's more likely that he gets traded than cut just because he's so familiar with the playbook. Like, break glass in case of emergency. He has some value there. Even though they think QB3.
If he doesn't show you anything in the preseason, he's done. I'm out. You're out. You go get someone who can.
And Possibly, but if they've had Tim Boyle and all the guys that they've had on this roster hang around, I think Hendon Hooker's got a spot at least as the QB3. Like, I'm not saying it's like the best
The QB3,
yeah.
I think to keep him on the roster, you got to cut him though and bring him back as a 3. I don't think you can keep him as. I think you have to only keep 2.
Sam said, "Don't let people brainwash you into thinking backup quarterback doesn't matter." It absolutely does.
Spot on, Flannel. I've been trying to explain this to people all the time. People will be like, if your backup or if your quarterback goes down, your season's over. Wrong. What if he goes down with a concussion for 2 weeks? You need to still win. What if you need to drive in the playoffs? Teddy Bridgewater. You need to still score.
Yeah, you do need a backup. You do need a backup. I'm not. It's the whole, like, if your starter goes down for the season, you're boned. Unless you're the exception of the Eagles with Nick Foles, where he plays his best ball in the postseason. But yeah, especially for seeding and like division, yeah, you do need a good backup to win a stretch. Like if you have a bad backup and Goff goes down for 2 games and you lose both games, that could hurt your division chances.
Yeah,
so
we've seen a good backup win a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
you've seen it though. Like people act like it's over. Oh, your quarterback goes down. No, if you have a backup that can win,
yeah, you're not completely out of it. You're not completely out of it. You're most likely out of it, but you're not completely out of it. Xavier says Hooker's still Jeff's guy, though. Yeah, I mean, I still think he can be a backup quarterback. That's where I'm at.
Like, would you rather have Gardner Minshew or Hendon Hooker?
Well, Gardner Minshew.
Okay, that's my point. Is you're a contending team, man.
Is he a free agent?
No, but in my opinion, he's on the Chiefs. Like that's a Super Bowl contending team. That's like, hey, if Mahomes goes down for a game or 2 or a couple drives, we have Gardner in the wings. Like most contending teams will have a quarterback they trust. Hendon last year, it was already, no one can argue it. They don't trust Hendon last year. If he doesn't show you anything in preseason, get him out. He's done.
Well, let's look at the free agents. NFL free agent tracker on ESPN. Let's look at the list because you look at some of these names here. So they basically compiled a bunch of names that are free agents, and we can kind of look at them, see if we like any of them. I actually have a point to make with a position that is an edge that I like on this list. We'll get to that. But the number one, Rasul Douglas. They don't need a corner, but he is still a free agent. Totally forgot about that.
What a good free agent, huh?
Yeah, he's still out there. Mari Cooper still out there, which I'm kind of shocked, actually. Is that not like shocking?
He had a weird year last year.
Mm-hmm.
He might be just waiting until training camp, see if someone gets hurt or something, and then sign. He just had a weird year. I mean, he was so good and then just out of nowhere last year. That's why I hate with some players. It's just like the drop off. It just is out of nowhere. It's really weird.
That was weird. Yeah, the whole thing. Number 3 is Asante Samuel Jr. He's still a free agent.
That's what's surprising to me.
Mm-hmm.
He's good too. It's got to be like an off the field, or he's asking for way too much money.
Mike Hilton, a lot of corners, still a free agent.
April.
I think that's good. If hopefully these guys stay free agents during training camp, and if one of you guys aren't working, or if you have an injury, you go out and get one of these guys.
Keenan Allen. I saw someone bring him up. I don't know who it was, but to join the Lions, it's like, come on, guys, what are we doing? No.
Yeah, there's no room whatsoever. I would love Keenan Allen. He's one of my favorite players ever, but it's not where you're picking up Anquan Bolden off year 16 and you're asking him to go play. Like Keenan, he's going to be playing pretty much the same role as Amon-Ra, and you're not playing any snaps in front of Amon-Ra.
No, you're not. So no, yeah, Keenan Allen, no thank you. Brandon Sheriff, yep.
I'm in.
Yes.
Do it. Do it. Bring some more depth in at that position group.
It said the 2015 top 5 pick had a pass block win rate of 93.8% last year, with ranked 14 among guards.
How was he a free agent?
10 NFL seasons.
How was he just sitting there?
He probably has offers. He's probably just waiting to see, weigh him out.
Think of retirement. Who knows?
This was that situation with Cologne that we brought in from the Cardinals, that it was like, hey, I would have rather had Brandon Sheriff for sure. But then they bring Cologne in and you're going, does that mean they're out on Sheriff?
I don't know because he could play center, not Cologne can. So maybe they see him. He could play a little center. Sheriff could play guard. So
it's such a deep room though right now. Not deep, but like
I would
there's
cut
a lot of
Colby. Cut Colby. Bring Sheriff in.
Yeah, I think like after the 53 man though, I think Colby was already going to get cut. So you're going to have to cut one of those other guys like you say Cologne?
Oh,
You,
Cologne.
you really threw me off.
No. Did I say Colby?
You said Colby.
No, then you said
Colby.
Colon after. Yeah, it threw me off a little bit. That really threw me for
But I like Sheriff. He would be the perfect fit here. I mean, he would. You
know what we need to do?
Like Zeitler. That's what he would be.
I agree. We need to go back and see last year how many guards they kept to see on our roster because they're not going to cut any of their rookies from the 53 man. Like Miles Frazier is locked. Tate is locked. Chris Mahogany's locked. Graham's locked. That's 4 already.
I mean, Nick P says Sheriff fits Morton's system better than Zeitler because he's a better pass blocker.
Yeah, I'm in on him.
Ben Blue says sacrifice Graham for Sheriff. Well, the thing is with Graham, he can play center. That's the only thing.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah,
I was just say Sheriff probably right now is better than Graham. Graham just is familiar with the offense.
Yeah,
Got to get rid of Yodi.
Yodi would be
cut. Yodi would probably be the one, the odd man out. Because I think he's like the 5th or the 6th man. I'm guessing that's how many guards they keep.
And then number 7, Zadarius Smith. Yeah, we don't. I mean, come on.
He's
still lurking.
He's still lurking out there.
He better.
Jadeveon Clowney.
He better as well. Bring me Jadeveon.
He says he could be. It says here he could be signed as a designated pass rusher in sub packages.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you're asking for, though. I even think, and Doc has been saying it, like, if you bring back Zadarius Smith, I don't think Zadarius Smith is just out there for 3 downs majority of the game. Like, I think it'd be a rotation between him and Davenport. And on pass downs, you're probably going to have Zadarius. But in the run game, like, Marcus Davenport's really good against the run when he's healthy. But you're able to have both those guys coming off the edge. You're able to preserve Marcus Davenport. But I know they're paying Davenport pennies, but they have high expectations for him, at least if they're planning on starting him outside of Hutch right now. Like, they think he's going to do some big things. So I think any of these guys, Judon, I'm sure he's going to be on the list here in a second, Clowney, and Zadarius, they'd be like rotational pieces. I don't think there's somebody you're starting out there. Great rotational.
Good rotational. You get them in some packages. I wouldn't mind. I mean, I don't mind Jadeveon Clowney. Number 9, Matthew Judon, you called it. He is, yeah.
Matthew Judon. One of those 3. Been saying it. Just one of those 3. Just give us another edge.
It says, but the tape shows a player who is starting to decline. He had 5.5 sacks last season, his first year with Atlanta. He's a savvy pass rusher, but he's not likely to be an every down player in 2025. So you don't need him every down. So there you go. Number 10, Jedrick Wills.
I don't hate it. Cheap. A lot of upside. Get him with Hank. Boy, might be able to replace Decker. Maybe. That's an absolute reach, but he was a top, like, I know he was a first-round pick. I don't know how early he went. I want to say like top 10, man, but he went high. And he was good for a second. Like, when he first got in the league, he was really good.
Did he go to Bama?
Yeah.
That's what I remember him. Yeah, Jedrick Wills. Did not know he was still a free agent. Number 11, Justin Simmons. And then you get the safeties. Simmons, Blackman, still a free agent. And then here's the thing I wanted to bring up. Kaiser White.
Come on.
Make the call. Make the call. I think Kaiser White, with this whole Anzalone stuff going on, Malcolm's hurt, I wouldn't mind having another linebacker in there. I wouldn't mind it.
He kills people too, bro. He flies around the field. He's got experience in the playoffs with Philly. He's just a good player. Like in Arizona this year, like I did not realize that he was 29. He looks like he's 25. Probably playing the best ball that he's ever had, and he's an all-around type of guy. I don't think he's as good as Anzo or Jack Campbell, but when you talk about he's somebody that you can put on the edge, he's not going to be getting to the quarterback, but he's going to be stopping the run and covering tight ends. So he's better than Zach Cunningham. That's why I'm surprised, but he probably is going to want some more money. But Kaiser White's a really good football player. Like a contending team, like I would not be surprised if Kaiser White's a Baltimore Raven by the end of the offseason.
Yeah, I didn't know he was still a free agent. That's the thing that I think
I wonder
he has
why.
to have offers. He just hasn't really accepted any. There's no way.
At home. I wonder why he's just.
I mean, he had 2.5 sacks and a pick last year. So
9 tackles for a loss.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, we'll see. There's some linebackers out there. And then number 14, Ogbo Okoronkwo.
Sure. I'll trust you.
I bring him home. All right. I don't know who.
That's not moving the needle.
Ogbo. He had 7
Am I back?
Seasons with the Browns.
You boys hear me?
Yeah.
What?
Was I frozen?
No, I didn't notice.
I didn't think so.
My screen was just black for the last 40 seconds. I was like, what's happening here?
That's weird. Yeah, well,
Ron Ogbo Okoronkwo? Maybe they're
Okoronkwo.
I couldn't even tell you anything about him. 30 years old, not a chance. I don't know who it is.
He just got let go, though, so I think they just released him like 4 or 5 days ago.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough.
You're digging. If we're at this point, you are digging deep to know that there's an issue. It's like, hey, go get some rep. I like Hutchinson over Okoronkwo.
Will Hernandez.
Will Hernandez. That should have been over Cologne.
Yeah.
Will Hernandez.
Yeah.
Really, it should have been, honestly.
The veteran guard had a pass block win rate of over 94% each of his past 3 seasons.
What are we doing?
Physical run blocker, his footwork on contact, and his power pop on tape. At age 30, he could still be a starter. Will Hernandez. Yeah, I don't know about Will Hernandez.
Another one that could be better than Graham if they just knew the system. Like, that's an upgraded guard spot.
Yeah, we've seen 2 upgrades over Graham on this list so far. Nick P, DeMarcus Walker, boys. They've already met with him before, so keep an eye on it. I'm telling you. Keep an eye on that guy. 16, Von Miller. Oh, yeah. Why not?
I'd be fine with Von. As long as he's fucking cheap.
Yeah.
That would be some vet experience in that building. Wow. I would, honestly, if he didn't play a snap, just to pay him to come in and just, hey, man, hey, be in that room. Be in there. Just talk to the boys.
Yeah, just talk. Just be
put the
around.
helmet on. If you get in, you get in. If you don't, we're good, man. Just come in. It's literally just like, hey, man, like we're trying to win a Super Bowl this year. You want another one? You can get some snaps, but we need that leadership. We need to know what it's like to get to a Super Bowl and win that thing.
Yeah, he's different. He's
1 year deal.
He's built a little different.
I wonder what he would bring, like statistically wise, going into this
3
year.
or 4, I bet.
Because I don't know if he even had 3 last year. What do you have?
I'm not too sure off the top of my head.
I think he had a down year last year, which is why maybe he's not signed now, where people may be a little like hesitant on bringing him in. Let's see, 2024. He played 13 games. He had 6 sacks. Okay. Yeah, no, get this man here, huh?
Hey.
6 sacks.
Come
you can use 6. You can use 6 of them things, huh?
Yeah.
We really could. We really could use 6. The year before he had 0, though. In 12 games.
Thanks. Come on. Yeah.
Come on now. Huh?
Ben, no thanks to Von Miller, unfortunately, he said in the chat there.
You don't want 6 sacks, Ben?
We're not that desperate.
Shift God, you can't use 6 sacks on this team.
Give me Von over a Conqueror.
This team could use 6 sacks.
Streams only says Von punches women, 0% chance.
Does he actually? Did he get in trouble?
I don't know his personal life, so I know
he got an off the field stuff. I don't know what it was exactly.
Nick P. Von Miller can defend the run too. Von was very good last year.
Hey, Nick knows ball. Nick P. Nick knows ball.
Oh gosh, yeah, 36-year-old Von Miller coming to save the day, man. I mean, on this list, I wouldn't mind. I mean, it's really Za'Darius, or you're bringing in a situational guy. I mean, it's really all there is on this list. There's not really much they can add, to be honest with you. I mean, Kaiser White would be cool.
I think the biggest thing, there's a 3-headed monster in free agency right now of edge rushers. 3 dudes who have just been
crazy.
Yeah, and they're unsigned.
I think they are.
All had 6 sacks last year, or 5.5.
I think they're all dogs, man. And I think they're all a little underrated. I think Matthew Judon, I think he had a down year because he was on a bad Falcons team. I think that's the only reason he had a bad year. I think you put Matthew Judon on a good team across from Aidan Hutchinson, he will get you something. I can promise you and guarantee. You can put a Booner guarantee on that. Go get Matthew Judon.
Wow. Shift God said,
That was so funny, bro.
I'll take my chances with Za'Darius or Judson or Judon. Judson. I was like, oh, Judon.
Judon for sure. I'll take Judon. Hey, can you put the flannel one up there? Weird OCD thing with me. I misspelled. I don't even know what that word is. Hosteler earlier. He had a flannel. You're amazing, bro. He had to come back in and put the correct one. He was going through it. He was in the back of his head. He's like, oh, that really got me. Yeah.
Shout out Sam, man.
Flannel's the best, dude.
Nick P. Jadeveon Clowney to me is overall a better edge than Z because of his ability to stop the run. Z doesn't set the edge well on run plays.
Yeah, I disagree with that, but sure.
Those three. If you could bring one of those three in, I don't care what you think. Just give me one of them.
Shift says I'm a Von Miller guy, but Brad ain't going for it.
No. What's your confidence level, boys? Just a little update. It's Darius Smith.
It's little to none. It's little to none now. I've already gotten to this point. It's
7.
7 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm probably at like a 4.
I'm locked in. I'm still confident. I'm still right there. I think it's just get to training camp and then he can make he'll be a Lion.
All right.
Come on.
The only thing, listen, I think everyone in Detroit, listen, let me teach you guys something real quick. Everyone would still be all in. Everyone would still think Za'Darius Smith was going to be a Detroit Lion if it wasn't for Brad Holmes going on the Green Light podcast and kind of saying what he did and not bringing Za'Darius up. And he did that for a reason. He can't talk about free agents like that. He needs to take a step back. So people need to relax a little bit, let this thing play out.
What about you, Chad? Think he's coming back? Yes or no? No, because we're July 1st. Okay, we're getting closer to training camp. Yes or no? Put in there. You think he's coming back? Maybe I should put a poll up, actually, to be honest with you. Because I want to get a vibe of the people now. I want to see what you guys think of this. Is Za'Darius will still be a Lion?
Are they just dropping it in the chat?
No, I put a poll.
Oh, okay.
They could drop it in the chat, but
am I allowed to vote?
Yeah.
Heck yeah, dude.
You can have some sway in it. Mine's at like a 2 confidence level.
Well, yours has been at like a 2 this whole time.
It hasn't moved.
Let's see what the people think. Because I was with Boone. I was probably like an 8, 9. Went down to about a 6. Now I'm creeping down to like a 4 or 5.
Listen, dude, he's going to be a Lion, man.
I hope. I do hope.
Flannel said, I'm with Jeff, not confident in Za'Darius Smith coming back, unfortunately. Hoping I'm wrong. Flannel, I'll put a Booner guarantee. Za'Darius will be a Detroit Lion this year.
Booner guarantee. What happens if the Booner guarantee does not go right?
We can discuss
Can we trust Booner guarantees from that point on?
No, well, this is my first Booner guarantee that I've had in a long time.
You know what? I like that, though. This is the right one time to use it because I would love him back. I would love him back.
I haven't used it this year yet. This is my first one. The last time I used it might have been
You used it for the NFC Championship game. To make the NFC.
Oh, yeah. The last time actually it was the Booner Path, was the Booner guarantee, was the Booner Path to the Lions will be playing in the NFC Championship game. What did they do, Jeff?
They played in the NFC Championship game, yeah.
It's crazy how this world works, man.
So far, 36%. The 64% say yes, he comes back. 36% say no. So it's almost 60-40.
60 say no?
60 say yes.
Okay, I was going to say, if 60 said no, I voted on it. I mean, that's even lower than that. That's tough.
Yeah, that's about 64% say yes.
It's a tough look for me then.
So I don't know, fellas. Ben Blue says Brad Holmes would sign 3 more nose tackles before he even thinks about resigning Za'Darius.
I would not be surprised there.
Wheezy says Brad not playing mind games. He's not going deception. He's not walking down the money. He's a jag and can't shed linemen.
Just cooked him. Hey,
to be fair,
there's
Weezy
lots of
D.
dudes now.
Weezy D also thinks that Marcus Sasser is a better player than Peyton Pritchard.
That's funny as hell, bro.
So anything he
He's a
says,
stag who can't shed blocks.
anything Weezy D says is just voided at this point going forward. When you have bad takes and you're wrong, you're that bad on things, you just can't be taken
I
seriously.
mean, straight up just called him ass. I mean, that's pretty much what he just did. That's
You can't be
Jack.
taken seriously.
he just called that man ass. Wow.
Shout out Honcho. Shout out Logan in the chat. It's my guy.
T says the question is, does Brad Holmes want to resign him?
I mean, I'm sure he wants to, but
Yeah.
he's definitely not in a position where he needs to. Like,
Why you would have to want, right?
I mean, there wouldn't be any reason not to want him. I just think at the end of the day, like, he looks at, okay, if you want to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles, that dominant interior, Brad thinks he probably has that. Maybe not to that level, but he thinks he has a dominant interior defensive line. And he always talks about, well, we have one of the 5 best edge rushers, so they also have that going for them. Does he really think if you have 3 out of the 4 defensive line spots damn near dominant that he's pressing hard to bring back Zadarius Smith? I don't think so. And I think just through Brad's history here as a GM, it points to that as well. Like, there was similar players we were talking about. We were talking about Matthew Judon last offseason, the connection there. He sat on his hands and he went with Marcus Davenport, and he's doing the same exact thing. But this time he made everybody happy. He drafted an edge in the 6th round, Hassanin, who we like. But again, is that enough? Is that going to make us happy? No. I don't think, again, Brad's not looking at Zadarius Smith and be like, fuck no. We do not want Zadarius. This is all noise. We made a move at the deadline because we had to. Like, he saw Zadarius being his best defensive end through that stretch of the season. So I don't think there's any ways like, no.
Hey, shout out Honch, though, man. He says Boone guarantee is good enough for me, man.
It's my guy. It's my guy Logan.
I love that.
He also put in there Cam Thomas to the Detroit Pistons. Would be a dream. Not yeah. For when I said that out loud, it made it sound like I was saying it was not. But that would be
shout out
Cam
Honch.
Thomas would be. Whew.
Let's bring in the man to talk about it. All right, talk about some NBA free agency, Detroit Pistons free agency.
Switching gears again.
Detroit Pistons free agency with a good friend of the show, Mr. Sean Murphy, covers the Detroit Pistons and the host of From Half Court. Very, very smart individual. Let's bring him in here. How we doing, Sean?
Boys, what's going on? Thank you so much for having me. It's been an eventful week in the world of basketball, especially in the world of Detroit basketball. So a lot of stuff to talk about. Before we get to the negatives, though, do quick want to shout out the fact that Detroit women's basketball is back in 2029 after 20 years of absence.
Talk to me, Sean.
Detroit
They're
shock
back, baby. The shock.
I'm really excited about it. So shout out to all those that made it happen, including Jared Goff and Sheila Ford Ham.
Are you sure, Sean, that people may not want to play in Detroit per Sophie Cunningham? Or, I mean, what are we doing?
Yeah, good point. You know, I forgot about the tropics that is Indianapolis, Indiana. You know, such a exotic place that they get to play basketball. Now, just laughable, absolutely laughable. You know, just completely. It's almost like just no knowledge of the history of the WNBA. It's like, yeah, one of your most successful markets, both in winning and in attendance. Yeah, they should probably get a team back, I think.
I think when they do a expansion draft, I think that we should just draft Sophie Cunningham and then just cut her right after. Just draft her and then cut her. I think that would be
an evil ass laugh, Sean. That was an evil ass laugh.
It was,
there, Sean.
Yeah, Sean's like, do it. Cut.
That's like full on Pettywop, man. I'm here for it. Let's go.
Hey, Sean, let me get your thoughts, man. A lot to get to. I mean, the free agency period started Monday. And we got to talk about it yesterday, and I haven't been able to. I've seen you tweeting, and by the way, you guys should follow at Sean Half Court. But what do you think? And we'll start with the Malik Beasley stuff, and then we'll kind of work our way. But what do you think of the Malik Beasley stuff? There's just more shit that just keeps unfolding from this. What's your kind of reaction to it? The unfortunate reality, it's not Trajan's fault that this dude got himself in a little pickle here.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's impossible to ignore the human element for me first, just how sad this is. I mean, what you're reading, you know, about the struggles that Malik Beasley had, it's pretty clear to me that, you know, is someone who clearly, you know, needs some assistance and was going through a lot of stuff and had a lot of struggles throughout his career, even though you're perceived, to be super wealthy going into the league. There's one thing to make that type of money. It's a whole other thing to know what to do with it. And so for me, like, my heart breaks for Malik in that sense. And the thing that really sucks is when you make these types of mistakes, there's really not a great, like, it's not like you can go like, all right, well, we'll get him tomorrow. Like, this is a very, a definitive permanent thing that he'll have a hard time coming back from. So obviously whenever that type of thing happens to one of your best players on the eve of free agency, that's just tough. I mean, literally I tweeted out on Saturday that Jake Fisher reported that all signs were pointing towards him signing a deal. Like just to show you how quickly things can change. Literally within a 24-hour time span, things completely change. So, I think as far as with that situation, and then also losing Tim Hardaway Jr. and Dennis Schroeder, because those guys were probably well on their way talking to their new teams, or potential new destinations by that point. So I think all things considered with, how little of a time frame, of course you have a backup plan, but you don't necessarily have the, think that you're going to have that little time to implement said plan with all of those things stacking up on your plate. So all things considered, you got two serviceable players with movable contracts that still give you flexibility. And I also think they both can contribute. Like, are they sexy moves? No. But do I think that they, still give them the opportunity to improve if young guys come out and play the way that we think they can? Yeah, I think they do.
Yeah, Sean, I want to ask you. That was actually going to be part of my question. Was today? It felt like, at least for me, and you are right when you do look at the Malik Beasley stuff. It does kind of go into account of what kind of happened and how everything went up. Kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Took place.
Awry.
Yeah, and it was just kind of an unfortunate situation. But when you kind of break down the free agency, you lost Tim Hardaway, you lose Malik Beasley essentially, and you lose Dennis Schroeder, and you only add Duncan Robinson and Karis LeVert. I said today, it feels like whether it was supposed to happen or not, it does feel a little underwhelming, and it doesn't feel like the team got that much better, if at any got better. Do you agree with that? Like, do you think they kind of are still the same, if not took a little step back throughout this free agency? If you take away the return of Ivy and maybe the players getting better, just at free agency as a whole with those players, it feels like they took maybe a little step back. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's a little hard to judge how better they got, just because, in my opinion, I think the moves that they made just inherently also makes them a bit of a different team. Like, in particular, I do think you have a little bit more depth as far as your bench scoring now with a guy like a Karis LeVert, who has a little bit more of a capability to create his own shot. If you stagger Cade and Ivy and are able to play Ivy and LeVert together and get some solid minutes out of those guys, I think that's something that could be a pretty decent addition. My one question with LeVert is he's someone who really likes to play driving to the lane and also like kind of shooting in the mid range. Does that sound familiar to any Piston to you guys? Maybe like a Cade Cunningham type player. I just wonder how well those guys fit together. But again, it's also a very movable contract. They can match salaries if that doesn't work out. But also, for Duncan Robinson, if there's anything we know about Duncan, he can shoot the three. The thing that with Duncan Robinson is, what is he doing if the three's not falling? Like, it's always been needing a little bit more to his offensive game and making sure he's not, a subtraction on defense. But you got off the Simone Fontecchio money. There's still, I believe, about $8 million left in room to be able to go out and make another move to potentially, address that backup 4 position. And, I still think that there's room for this team to make moves even by the deadline. But, overall, like, I think, yeah, this team there's going to be some adjustments for sure, just because, again, I don't know if you got worse. I just think your team's going to look a little different as far as how they play. So it'll be interesting to see how these guys stack up. They certainly got more length and size with these moves. It's just interesting to see how that's going to, impact this team, because between Malik and Tim Hardaway Jr., that was half of your 3-point shots last season.
And Sean, I think a big conversation, especially going in today, was the whole Sacramento Kings possible sign and trade with Dennis Schroeder. Do you know what kind of fell apart there with the whole situation, or even if it was ever on the table for a sign and trade?
Yeah, that report to me kind of read a little bit weird at first, because I know Sacramento is stupid, but to just straight up do a sign and trade of Dennis Schroeder for Malik Monk just didn't make a lot of sense to me. I'm sure Sacramento started to ask for a little bit of assets. And, I'm sure also Sacramento had some trepidation in making that move. They actually essentially performed a salary dump trade, trading Jonas Valanciunas to the Denver Nuggets in order to be able to make that signing without having to make a trade. So I think if you're Sacramento, you were going to be very reluctant to move off from a Malik Monk unless you got a package that you absolutely loved. And if anything, with a lot of these pretty valuable players on team friendly deals, if anything, their value in the trade market might be a little inflated. So I imagine Detroit, likes Malik Monk. That's someone that's been on their list, I believe, since Trajans, come to Detroit. And I think even just over a course of time, he's someone that's been on their radar. But I just don't know if, the price that they are asking for necessarily made a lot of sense.
Yeah, and the thing with it, Sean, and just looking at the landscape right now with we kind of did this exercise earlier, and I would like your thoughts on it. But we went through the East last year, playoff teams, and we went through Cleveland, Boston, New York, Milwaukee, Orlando, Atlanta. Just in your opinion, I know it's early. There's still a lot of time left, but just kind of looking at the landscape, what the Pistons had to do, they had to replace obviously Malik Beasley. They were faced with a little bit of adversity there. People look at this free agency, these signings as a little underwhelming. What do you kind of put the Pistons right now? Your confidence, you still have them staying at that sixth spot, or you think people are underestimating the jump that some of these young players can take?
Yeah, I still think they're in that top 4, top 5, just kind of going team by team with Cleveland. I think them and the Knicks kind of are the favorites to be at the top of the conference right now as far as the standings go. They're poised to be, really good this season. The Knicks made some pretty solid additions. They just need to find a freaking head coach. I mean, good God, they've gone over 30 days now. They need to get a damn coach. Boston, they're probably going to be in the play-in tournament, in my opinion. They lost some pretty key pieces. They're probably going to lose Al Horford as well. That's something that's going to be pretty detrimental to them. I think Indiana is going to kind of be in that play-in tournament spot now as well. By the way, all this talk from Indiana about wanting to pay the luxury tax, about how they weren't going to let Miles Turner walk. And then the second they had that pressure and it was time for their bluff to be called, they just immediately moved off. And did you hear what they offered Miles Turner, by the way? They only offered him 3 years, $60 million. That is the highest their offer went. So after being one win away from a title, that's the way they thank Tyrese Halliburton for literally sacrificing his career. But beyond that, Milwaukee, even though they went out and got Miles Turner, and that definitely makes them more competitive if they were without Dame last year, I'm just not sold on that. And I think it's especially being someone who's seen the Pistons firsthand screw themselves with the wave and stretch provision in the past. I don't think people realize how reckless what Milwaukee did today was. To let a guy like Damian Lillard go for nothing. And you can say whatever you want about his value, with his injury and things like that. That's still a future Hall of Famer. And then on top of that, essentially, they're going to be without 15% of their salary cap space for the next 5 years. 5. It's up to 2030. Good God. That's just terrible waste. So, Orlando obviously is up there. Atlanta, I still have some real questions about Kristaps Porzingis. And to me, I think this is Atlanta going, okay, Trey, if you're going to ever bring us where you say you can bring us, this is the time. They are pushing all their chips in the middle of the board. They are going out and making all their big moves. They've had Trae Young for a long time now. If Atlanta doesn't do it now, then when? That's really kind of the thing that's facing them. So Detroit was the youngest team in the playoffs other than the Thunder last year. They still have a lot of opportunities to grow. I think they're still right there in that conversation. And, it's still not a very strong Eastern Conference, even with some of the moves we've seen over the last couple of days.
Yeah, Sean, I just want to ask you, because we actually talked about this earlier, kind of going forward after the first 48 hours of free agency, what it might look like over the next few weeks, and two positions that we actually all kind of agreed that we wanted to still add to this team as kind of a backup point guard / ball handler, and then maybe like a stretch 4 or another wing potentially. What players out there right now that are still available, even if it's a sign and trade or a trade potentially, would you like to see the Pistons add? And as well, position group. Is there a specific position group as well?
Yeah, I as far as like available free agents, let me get a list of who's all left. That's the thing that's really difficult as as these things move, is like there's already so many guys who have been signed. I think the big thing is just to be able to go out and get more wings and to bolster that depth at the 4 position. I think going out and getting a guy, like a Karis LeVert, he can handle some ball handling skill, ball handling for you. On top of that, Jaden Ivey, there's reports that they feel pretty comfortable about whenever he's back into the lineup that he's going to be able to, bring some of that as well. As far as like the rest of the free agents, it's a pretty thin crowd after some of these moves, to be honest with you. I mean, the biggest question, kind of facing free agency as a whole, and I think that's kind of going to decide, what happens throughout a lot of it, is what are the Lakers going to do at center and what's exactly going to happen with this really weird LeBron thing. And I think from there, you're going to see a lot of teams, kind of react accordingly. But overall, like with the way that's the salary cap is now, and just with the way that free agency has been, like a lot of the guys that were available kind of have already been signed. So I'm interested to see, like if the Pistons can add someone on the margins, if there's someone, out there that they could perhaps make some form of minor trade with, it's but other than that, like, their options aren't necessarily super vast at the moment.
And Sean, given the fact that, and Trajan put it out there already, the fact that they're not buyers at the deadline, investing into the young core, how important is an Asar Thompson step up next year? When you look at what he's doing in the playoffs, putting some scoring production together, but given the fact that their bench is probably not going to be as deep as most would like it, given the fact Malik Beasley, that situation we touched on 100 times already within the last 15 minutes, how much more important is it for now Asar to step up?
Yeah, I think you're going to have to see growth from guys like Asar Thompson. You're going to have to see, consistency from Jaden Ivey almost out the gate when he comes back from injury, but also like you're going to need more out of Ron Holland, on a consistent basis. You're going to need more, pretty much from everyone on the roster. So, I don't think like this roster is like, like definitively worse again than last year's. It's just, it's different. They're just going to play a little bit of a different brand of basketball, particularly on the offensive end. So a lot of it's, going to come down to how quickly and comfortably they can get, a guy like a Duncan Robinson, implemented in the system. He's someone who's a very streaky shooter. So if he can start the season hot, that would bode well for Detroit. And I think from there, kind of like you said, it's how they can get guys like Asar Thompson more involved. I think a big thing for, Asar and for the Pistons next year is they think if they can get him going over 30 plus minutes a game, that would be huge, because he was having that level of impact only playing 25 minutes a night. So, I think even just that is going to be a massive impact. And then I think for Cade, it's just about, taking his conditioning to a next level and being able to like bring that level of scoring production consistently night in, night out.
Sean, I got to get your thought, because I brought this up the other day. I see Twitter was just flaming it. The John Collins thing. Can you just get your thought? Utah potentially moving him. People are looking for some sort of move. Seems like he's a guy that could be moved. Your evaluation of the player, the fit. What do you think of it?
Yeah, it's one of those things where there's 2 signs at the beginning of the offseason to me. One of them is the workout video of Ben Simmons shooting threes in an empty gym. And the other is the John Collins trade proposal. And I kind of put it on Twitter. He's one of those guys to me where his basketball reference page looks a heck of a lot better than when he's playing basketball on the court. It's not that he's a bad player at all. Like, he's a fairly
get him, Sean.
Scorer. What's that?
Get him, Sean.
Oh, yeah, okay. You're cooking my ass. Go ahead, Sean. You're cooking my ass. Go ahead. I'm
sorry, Jeff. I love you. It's nothing against, like him as a player. It's just that, like, especially when you talk about how hard of a salary cap we have in the modern NBA. I don't know. Like, do I like John Collins? Sure. Do I like John Collins for $27 million out of the salary cap? I don't think so. I don't really think I do. And he's not really a whole lot of like a major addition on the defensive end either. You know, he's one of those guys that you can kind of lose track of on the court. Like he's not a bad player. I just don't necessarily think the actual practice of having John Collins is as good as the idea of having John Collins.
Hey, Sean, who's the I think we're a year out of the Tobias Harris conversation, the fun conversation that we had last year in free agency.
Evil ass laugh again. There it is.
That evil laugh from Sean every time I get to. Who is there a Tobias this year? Is Karis LeVert? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I think the conversation on Karis LeVert is a little extreme. I think a lot of guys are acting like we got a scrub. Like, he is someone who has shown the ability to score, at all three levels. The thing with him is just kind of like whether he can do it night in, night out. And that's pretty much every player in the league, right? Like, especially not the ones that are all-stars or superstars. And especially if you look at his second half of the season last year in Atlanta, when he got out of that really heavy guard rotation in Cleveland, I just didn't think that was a good fit for him. He started to play a lot better. So I personally think he's someone that like people can potentially be pleasantly surprised by. And then also, like, let's not overlook the fact that Duncan Robinson is like Miami's all-time leading three-point shooter for a reason. Like, the dude can stroke it from three.
Yeah. I mean, he had more. I think Tim Hardaway had like 170 makes. I think Duncan had like 190 something. Like, let's just be real. No one's sniffing Malik's 300 makes. Like, that's
to be fair with the Malik one, it's the only person in the NBA that you could bring in that would do that is Anthony Edwards. He's literally the only one that had more.
No one's making it at that clip. So
it was even going to be a lot to expect Malik to come back and do that exact same thing from three next year. Like, that was like one of the greatest 3-point shooting seasons we've ever seen.
Yeah, that's fucking ridiculous. Yeah, that's a whole nother thing. Sean, did you ask Sean about the Paul Reed B-ball? Did you ask B-ball Reed?
No, yeah. Let me ask you this, Paul. Sean. I've been rattled about this Paul Reed thing. Listen, I know Paul Reed's a fan favorite. I love B-ball Paul, man. It brings energy, all of that. I had an issue. 2 years, $11 million. If you look at some of the other deals, you see Brook Lopez getting around 15, 16 million. You see other players out there that potentially are going to give their teams a little bit more, especially Sean, when you see, hey, we do have a need as a point guard coming off the bench. We do have a need as a stretch four or another wing. Like, we have needs on this team. And some reason they said, hey, let's just run it back with B-ball Paul, who really, like, I know he does contribute a little when you need it. But to me, it's like, I don't know if it's worth it. I think you could have got better player at that price range around the NBA and free agency, personally. Thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's, it's one of those moves, for the sake of, for one, stability. I think they were really happy, like overall with the level of production that he was able to bring in the playoffs, given the circumstances. I also, and I'm trying to look into this right now just to verify, but I believe that second year is not guaranteed. I think it
I don't think it is, but either one year, I'm still out on it.
Really? Are we just kind of, are we really just,
I just want improvement, man. Like, I want players that like improve. That, like, we talked about, like, Houston's third guy is like Steven Adams or Clint Capella, a center I'm talking about. And it's like, is B-ball Paul really that? No, probably not. It's just, you could have probably went out and made a better move. Now, the only argument that I can even think of is just, hey, the culture in the building. He's been around those guys. He's familiar. All the younger guys are familiar with him, and he's kind of growing with them. I can deal with that if that's the case. But in my opinion, it's like, hey, if you go into this year and you still have needs on this team and you're a playoff team, like, we are no longer a team where it's like, hey, man, our guys are just going to get better this year. And we're just going to hope maybe we have a chance at the play-in tournament. I don't know. Like, no, that's no longer this team. This team is now a playoff team where you're expected to take a step forward and compete for the East. And it's like, you have needs that you were supposed to address for agency, which you haven't done yet. But one you did was your third string center, who had his moments, but also had his moments in the NBA or in the playoffs to where you were like, oh, turnover, or, oh, didn't catch the ball for a wide open layup. Oh, missed a layup. And you're like, okay, yeah, in the playoffs or the regular season, you can rely on him, but it's just really like, I just think there's better needs on this team than spending $11 million on your third string center, especially if you're trying to compete for to win the East at the end of the day.
Let me ask you a question, Booner, and I'm not saying any. This is just when I saw this deal. This is one of the questions I asked myself. What are the odds all three centers are on the roster by the end of the season?
Well, last year 100% the whole season.
I'm not asking about last season. I'm asking about
100% this year.
Step into the
100%
ring,
this year.
bro, and the water's warm.
100% this year.
Warm.
Really, 100%? Because Jalen Duren's extension conversations are happening right about now. No one will give names on, and again, I'm just saying to keep an eye out on what happens here. I still think it's probably going to be DeAndre Ayton who ends up in LA, but there's a very legitimate chance that Jalen Duren could be, getting a call, from people in LA asking how he'd feel about
you know what, Sean, you could have had a good time to try and dunk on me and say B-Ball Paul is going to do decent this year for the Pistons, and you flipped it around to Jalen Duren's going to get traded. That man is a Detroit Piston. There's going to be an extension for that man. Come on now, Sean.
I'm just saying, like, I wouldn't rule anything out. Ultimately, the big thing is, I think
B-Ball Paul, you're saying is going to take over for Jalen Duren? Is that why you're saying this is an important signing? Where are you going with this, Sean?
That's not what I'm saying, and you know it.
Sean, where are you going with this, Sean?
Years, it's in semantics. You need in the league. You need bigs.
So if Jalen Duren gets traded, you have B-Ball Paul ready to go. There we go.
He still came in and played really good minutes in New York, Booner. Do you want to just be wrong again? Do you want to run it back? He
had
on the calendar. The Sean was right. Hey?
Sean, I'm a little worried right now for you. You got to relax. Sean, I said he had some good minutes in New York. He played in 5, I think, of the games or 6 of the games with Stu out. He had a couple games. He had a couple games where he was good. He had a couple of the games where he struggled a little bit. And you were like, whoa, whoa. But now you're kind of coming back at me being like, why would you need B-Ball Paul? And then you're going, well, you might lose one of your centers in the trade deadline with Jalen Duren. So you're telling me that if you lose Jalen Duren, the reason you signed B-Ball Paul is for him to step up to be your second center or your first center after Isaiah Stewart? Whoa. Come on now.
I'm just saying.
Come on now, Sean.
He is a serviceable big who played solid minutes, who was never really a detractor whenever he was on the court, whenever he had to step up.
He had his moments.
He only played 57 out of the 82 games, and more than likely, when you have Jalen Duren and Isaiah Stewart, he isn't going to be playing a whole lot then either. But you can never have enough quality bigs in this league, especially for a team that's looking to plant their identity on the defensive side of the court. I just think we're picking hairs over $5 million.
No, listen, it's not like I'm mad. Like I'm fine with the contract, but my point with all of this is if you leave free agency and you don't go out and get a backup point guard and you don't get a stretch 4 and you got B-Ball Paul and you're like, woohoo, what a free agency. That's the problem that I have. Right now, I'm fine with it. But if we end up not getting the needs on this team because I'm trying to win the East, we're going to have an issue. There is no, I don't want to hear, well, they got guys internally that are going to improve. I don't want to hear that. You just had a first-round knockout in Game 7 versus the New York Knicks where you should have won that series. You're no longer a team that's a potential play-in. You are now a team competing.
Mm-hmm.
You can't, in my opinion, you can't just sit back and be like, okay, let's just bring back everyone. Hopefully these guys get a little better. No, you do have some needs to be made. In my opinion, that's it. I don't think it's that crazy. I like B-Ball Paul. I said it. I think he has given you good minutes. But he also has had moments where you're like, whoa, dude. Come on now.
Paul caught some strays today.
I love B-Ball Paul, man.
Well, I think, I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that, you want to see them go out and, make sure that they're making definitive additions and improvements on the roster. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think the big position was where they needed to go out and direly address that need. Would it have been great to go get a stretch big? Absolutely. That would have been great, but I still think you can go out and get a solid backup at the 4. To me, I'm still looking at what happens with Jonathan Kuminga. You want to talk about interesting free agents? What's going to happen there? He's a restricted free agent. I'm not saying Detroit would have interest in him, but that's just someone that I'm going to be really interested to monitor. There's a lot of teams, who are going to be looking to make moves and have some really difficult decisions to make. And if there's anything that we saw from today with the Damian Lillard madness, with this modern salary cap, teams will do some things that we never thought were even conceivable. So I think for Trajan, just continue to give him time. A lot of the moves can still be made up till training camp. And this is really only the first 48 hours of free agency. So a lot of things still yet to develop.
Love it. Great stuff, Sean. It's always a blast having you on, brother.
Oh, Sean, I'd say you didn't need to get worked up like that. We were on the same page.
I want the record to show that wasn't an actual crash out. That was me raising the Booner. You were going to the yelling. I was just having fun.
Yeah, you were love. Hey, let's go, Sean. Hey, go blue, by the way.
Oh yeah, no, I want Sean. I like getting Sean fired up. It's a great thing.
It's always fun. Sometimes you gotta let the beast out. You know what I'm saying?
I love you, Sean, bro.
Yeah, you're Sean's a fucking legend. Sean, we'll talk to you soon, brother. Keep up the great work. Follow Sean at Sean Half Court. Check out from Half Court.
Support the man.
Talk to you soon, brother.
All right, love you boys. Catch you later.
There you go, Sean Murphy joining the program, talking to the fellas.
What a good. That was awesome. That was awesome. Paul Reed. You know what I've noticed? And I do not want to go down the conversation of how Boone feels about Paul Reed is exactly how I felt about Derek Barnes. Exactly how I felt about Derek Barnes.
Yeah, but the difference is Derek Barnes has a way bigger role and is a way better player at his position and in the NFL than Paul Reed is. Like Derek Barnes is your starting Sam linebacker.
We don't have to go down this.
Paul Reed averages 3-3. Like Derek Barnes had an 80 tackle season. Paul Reed had 3-3.
We don't have to go down this rabbit hole. I'm just acknowledging that I feel like we have the same emotions around these players, Boone. Yeah. So I understand what you're going through.
There's just other needs on this team. Like I one thing I hate with some Pistons fans, not Sean, I'm not saying Sean, because I don't think Sean has his mindset. But that is what I'm trying to explain with this whole thing is like there are Pistons fans that are just like very content with like sit back and let this thing play out. Like, yeah, I think there's a sense of letting that happen, but you also have to fill out your roster because you can't expect guys like Marcus Sasser to be your next man up next year. Like you can't expect Bobby Klitman to have to come in and make those moves. Like, I'm being realistic. And there are people who don't want to be realistic. There are people who really think Chaz Lanier is going to give you 30 minutes a night and give you all the 3-pointers that Malik Beasley gave you. That is wrong. Like he's a second-round pick. If you want to be a contending team in the East, which this team is supposed to be going into next year, or they would technically take a step back, then you have to go out and get those players. Like I get Trajan being like, listen, we're not going to make any big splashes. Okay, don't. But go fill a roster out and put a championship roster out there. Like we're not going to show up next year as fans and sit there and watch the same team as last year and win 40-something games. We want improvement. Cade, don't waste another year of Cade Cunningham.
Trust issues with Trajan right now.
No. I think he gets it done. I just listen. Like, hey, if you're not going to make a splash, still make moves. And he did. He made 2 moves, but I still think there's more to be done. And I think everyone knows that. And if you think it's to say, oh, we're fine, even if they didn't make moves, we could run it back with all the no.
Hey, watch your mouth, Wayne County. Shout out Cato, man. He says Draymond Green was a second-round pick.
Listen, second-round pick. I'm not saying Chaz Lanier. I'm not saying Chaz Lanier can't do that. Like I would love, and I think he's a great player. If you watch our draft show, I think he's gonna I think he can have an impact. But my whole point with it is, and you just can't rely on a second-round pick. Like that should never be a thing. Again, I gave the example earlier in the show.
Ronnie,
who was why am I drawing a blank on? Why am I drawing a blank on the Warriors GM? Mike Dunleavy.
Yeah,
Mike Dunleavy. He literally does a press conference and says, we draft second-round picks and expect them not to play. And if they do, we got to steal. That's how Pistons fans should be looking with Chaz Lanier. But you can't sit there and just be like, Chaz is good. He's going to be our 6th man. He'll take over from Malik Beasley. You're in a bad spot, man. You're supposed to be a contending team in this conference.
Ronnie. Just kidding. No. Diggity Dog. Shout out Diggity Dog, man. Klitman, next yoke. The Aussie. Oi, oi, oi. Bobby Klitman. Come on, baby. Great show today, man. Appreciate Sean. By the way, I don't know if people know this. We've said this, but Thursday and Friday, we do not have a show. So we'll have a show tomorrow. We'll have the doc on. We won't have a show Thursday and Friday. But it was a good show today. Brian James Schroeder sandwiches. Okay. All right. We'll be back. Appreciate you all. Continue to hit that like button, man, before you leave. Hit the like button. Hit the like button. Hit the like button. We'll catch you tomorrow. Peace.